You can't hide from me, Susan. I know where you are always. The message glowed on her screen, chilling her to the bone. How did they know? Who was this person haunting her every step? But to understand how Susan found herself in this nightmare, we need to go back to where it all began. A sunny afternoon at the pickleball court, where laughter and friendship masked the danger lurking just a click away. Susan was a woman who embraced life with open arms. After years of raising her family and building a career, she had finally carved out time to chase her passions. One of those passions was pickleball, a sport that had swept through her community like wildfire. Every Tuesday and Thursday, she'd meet her friends at the local courts, their laughter bouncing off the pavement as they swung their paddles with glee. It was during one of these sunny matches that her friend Margaret piped up with an idea. You know, we should join this new social media platform for pickleball fans, she said, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. It's a great way to connect with other players, swap tips, maybe even plan some extra games. Susan, always up for a little adventure, grinned and nodded. Why not? That evening, she plopped down on her couch with a cup of tea and set up her profile. She uploaded a photo of herself on the court, paddle in hand, her smile wide and genuine. Soon, she was linked up with her pickleball crew, scrolling through posts from players all over the country. It was a blast seeing their triumphs, their trick shots, their little victories. A few days later, her phone pinged with a message from a stranger. The username was PickleFan92, and the note was short and sweet. Great profile pic. You look like a pro on the court. Susan felt a little flutter of pride. She typed back a quick thanks. I just love the game, and didn't think much of it. Over the next week, PickleFan92 sent a handful of messages, always polite, always about pickleball. Susan figured she'd stumbled into a friendly new connection in the community. But then, things took a turn. I saw you playing today. You were amazing, one message read. Susan's brow furrowed. How did they know she'd been on the court that day? Maybe they'd been there too, she reasoned, brushing off the unease. But the next message stopped her cold. That blue shirt you wore yesterday really brings out your eyes. Her heart thudded. She hadn't posted anything about that day, no photos, no updates. How did they know what she'd been wearing? And just as Susan was trying to make sense of this disturbing message, I want to take a moment to thank all of you for joining us on this journey. Our channel is growing faster than ever, and it's all because of amazing listeners like you. If you're enjoying this story and want to hear more thrilling tales, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, back to Susan's story. She shook her head, fingers hovering over her phone. She had to know more. Do I know you? She typed. Were you at the courts yesterday? The reply zipped back almost instantly. Maybe. Maybe not. I like keeping an eye on you. A shiver crawled down her spine. This wasn't just odd, it was creepy. She thought about blocking them right then and there, but a nagging curiosity held her back. Who was this? Over the next few days, the messages kept coming, each one peeling back another layer of her comfort. I know you walk your dog in the park every morning. Cute little terrier, isn't he? Susan's stomach dropped. She hadn't mentioned Max, her scruffy little pup, anywhere online. How could they possibly know about him? She pictured his wagging tail and felt a surge of protectiveness and fear. She spilled it all to Margaret over coffee the next day. This is getting weird, right? She asked, her voice tight. Margaret's eyes widened. Weird? Susan, this is downright spooky. You need to report this. What if there's some kind of nutcase? Susan nodded, her hands fidgeting with her mug. She reported PickleFan92 to the platform's moderators that afternoon, hoping that'd be the end of it. But it wasn't. If anything, the messages ramped up, like the sender knew she was trying to shut them out. They popped up at odd hours, each one a little more personal, a little more invasive. One night, as she was brushing her teeth before bed, her phone buzzed on the counter. She hesitated, then picked it up, her breath catching as she read, Sweet dreams, Susan. I'll be thinking of you. That did it. She blocked the user with shaky fingers, her heart hammering in her chest. She even decided to step away from the platform altogether. No more pickleball posts, no more scrolling. but as she climbed into bed, pulling the covers tight, the fear didn't leave. It lingered like a shadow in the corner of the room. Who was this person? How did they know so much about her life? Little did she know, this was just the tip of the iceberg, a nightmare that was only beginning to unfold. Susan tossed and turned that night, her mind a whirlwind of unanswered questions. Who was Pickle Fan 92? How did they know so much about her? And why her? She finally drifted into a restless sleep, only to be yanked awake by a faint ping from her phone. Groggy, she fumbled for it, her stomach dropping as she saw a new message, not from Pickle Fan 92, but a different username, Nidal77. The message read, "Couldn't sleep either, huh? Don't worry, Susan. I'm here for you." Her blood turned to ice. She hadn't touched the app since blocking Pickle Fan 92. How could this be happening? The darkness of her bedroom pressed in, heavy and suffocating. The glowing screen mocked her. She wanted to hurl the phone away, but instead, she steadied her shaking hands and typed, "Who are you? What do you want from me?" The reply came instantly. "I just want to be close to you, Susan. You're special." Special. The words slithered down her spine. Not a praise, but a threat. She blocked Nidal77, deleted the app entirely, and sat there, trembling. Maybe cutting all ties would end it. Maybe it was just a cruel prank that would fade away. But a gnawing dread told her it wouldn't be that easy. The next morning, she called her son, David, a tech-savvy 30-something who lived a few hours away. If anyone could help, it was him. "Mom, this sounds serious," David said, his voice tight with worry after she spilled everything. "You need to change all your passwords, lock down your accounts, and maybe get a security system." Susan sighed. "I don't want to overreact, but I'm scared, David. I don't know who this is or what they're after." "I know, Mom. Let's start small. I'll come over this weekend to set things up. For now, lock your doors and maybe stay with Margaret." Margaret, her bubbly, pickleball-obsessed best friend. Susan hated imposing, but David was right. She couldn't stay alone. That afternoon, she packed a bag and drove to Margaret's cozy house. Margaret flung the door open, beaming. "We'll have a girls' night. Popcorn, movies, the works. It'll be fun." Susan managed a weak smile, grateful for the distraction. They settled on the couch with a rom-com and a giant bowl of popcorn, but the unease clung to her. Every creak of the house, every shadow flitting past the window, made her flinch. Halfway through the movie, her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, dread pooling in her gut. An email this time, from shadowfriend@anonmail.com. Subject: "Miss me?" Her hands quaked as she opened it. A photo loaded, a snapshot of her and Margaret, taken right then on the couch. The angle screamed outside the window. Susan gasped, the phone slipping from her grip. Margaret spun toward her. "What's wrong?" "They're here," Susan whispered, voice breaking. "They're watching us." Margaret snatched the phone, her face draining of color as she saw the photo. "Oh my God, Susan. We need to call the police." Susan nodded, numb. This wasn't just online anymore, it was real. Within minutes, 2 officers arrived. They took her statement, studied the photo, and promised to patrol the area. "We'll do what we can, ma'am," one said, but cyberstalking's tough to pin down. Helplessness crashed over her. Was this her life now? Constant fear, no peace? She couldn't let the shadow win. She had to fight. The next day, she hired Frank, a private investigator with a gruff demeanor and a knack for cybercrimes. He listened, his frown deepening with every word. "This is serious," Frank said, leaning back. "I've handled cases like this. We'll trace the IPs of these messages and emails. It'll take time, but we'll find them." Hope flickered in Susan's chest. "Thank you," she said, tears threatening. "I just want my life back." "We'll get there," Frank replied. "For now, log every incident. And don't respond, they feed on that." Susan agreed, though the idea of more messages made her skin crawl. And they kept coming. "I saw you with that investigator. He can't help you. You look pretty in that red sweater today." I know you're at Margaret's. How long can you hide? Fear hardened into anger. How dare they? She noticed patterns. The stalker knew her routine, her clothes. It had to be someone close. One evening, walking her dog Max in the park, she felt eyes on her. She turned, spotting a figure, male, maybe, half hidden behind a tree, watching. Her pulse raced as she hurried to her car, Max at her heels. When she looked back, they were gone. Stalker or stranger. She couldn't tell, but it rattled her. That night, another message. You're getting paranoid, Susan. It's not healthy. She wanted to scream. Instead, she sent it to Frank and leaned on Margaret, who never wavered. If this creep thinks they can scare you, Margaret quipped one night, they don't know you're the toughest pickleball player around. Susan laughed, a small release. I'd rather smash balls than deal with this. Challenge them to a match. Margaret grinned. Winner gets your privacy back. The laughter felt good, a brief escape. But that night, her phone buzzed again. A video. She hesitated, then played it. It showed her bedroom window from outside. The camera zoomed in on her silhouette, moving inside. Below it, sweet dreams, Susan. I'll be watching. She dropped the phone, panic seizing her. This was unbearable. She couldn't keep running, hiding. She had to uncover the truth. Unbeknownst to her, the answer was nearer and more shocking than she could fathom. Susan stared at her phone, the stalker's video replaying in her mind like a nightmare on repeat. The grainy footage showed her silhouette moving inside her home, oblivious to the shadowy figure watching from outside her bedroom window. Her stomach twisted. She couldn't let this unseen predator tighten their grip on her life any longer. At 52, she'd faced her share of challenges, divorce, raising kids alone, but nothing like this. She had to fight back. Her hands shook as she grabbed her laptop and logged into the social media platform she'd avoided since the messages began. If this stalker was watching her every move, maybe she could turn the tables. Maybe she could force them into the open, or scare them off entirely. Fueled by a mix of terror and defiance, she typed a post. To the person who thinks they can scare me, I'm not afraid of you. I know you're watching, but I'm coming for you. You won't win this game. She hit post before doubt could stop her. For a fleeting moment, she felt empowered, like she'd reclaimed a piece of herself. But then her phone buzzed, shattering the illusion. A new message from a fresh username, Braveheart 101. Her throat tightened as she read. Big mistake, Susan. You shouldn't have done that. She slammed the laptop shut, her breath ragged. The cozy living room, with its familiar quilted sofa and framed family photos, suddenly felt suffocating. She needed help, someone who could make sense of this nightmare. She called Frank, the private investigator she'd hired after the first creepy DM. Her voice trembled as she recounted the post and the stalker's chilling reply. Susan, that was a bold move, Frank said, his gravelly voice steady but tinged with worry. Risky, too, but it might have rattled them. I've got a lead. The IP addresses from those messages trace back to a coffee shop downtown. Free Wi-Fi, lots of foot traffic. It's local. Her pulse quickened. So they're close? Looks that way, he said. I'll stake it out, see if I can spot anyone suspicious. For now, don't respond to anything else. Stay with Margaret. Susan agreed, though the idea of sitting still while the stalker lurked nearby gnawed at her. She packed a bag and headed to Margaret's house, her best friend since their kids were in diapers. Margaret greeted her with a flour-dusted hug and a plan. We're baking cookies. Nothing calms the nerves like sugar and a good mess. As they mixed dough, Margaret tried to lighten the mood. If that creep shows up, we'll just chuck dough balls at him. She grinned, a smear of flour on her nose. They've clearly never seen us play pickleball, Susan. We're unbeatable. Susan managed a laugh, the tension easing for a moment. You're absurd. Absurd and proud of it, Margaret retorted, waving a spatula. Better than letting fear win. But the reprieve didn't last. That evening, Susan's phone pinged with an email from an unknown address, truthseeker88@anonmail.com. The subject line read, I can help you. Her hands trembled as she opened it. I know who's after you, Susan. They're closer than you think. Meet me at the park tomorrow at noon. Come alone. I'll explain everything. Her mind raced. Was this another trap? Or a genuine lifeline? She forwarded it to Frank, who called back instantly. Could be a setup, he warned, but it might be our break. If you go, I'll shadow you. Stay sharp. I have to do this, she said, her voice firm despite the fear. I need to know. Sleep eluded her that night, her thoughts a tangle of suspicion and hope. Who was Truth Seeker 88? How did they know about the stalker? By morning, exhaustion battled with resolve, but she dressed and drove to the park, arriving just before noon. The air was crisp, the sun bright, yet the familiar benches and winding paths felt eerie now. She scanned the area, joggers, dog walkers, kids on the playground, but no one stood out. Then she spotted them, a figure on a bench by the old oak tree, their back to her, clad in a dark hoodie. Her heart thudded. She looked for Frank's reassuring silhouette but saw nothing. He was too good at blending in. Steeling herself, she crunched across the gravel toward the bench. Truth Seeker 88, she asked, her voice barely audible. The figure nodded without turning. Sit down, Susan. We need to talk. She hesitated, every nerve screaming to bolt, but she sat, keeping distance between them. Who are you? How do you know about the stalker? The figure turned slowly, revealing a young woman, mid-20s, with sharp cheekbones and weary eyes. I'm Emily, she said quietly, and I know who's after you because I used to be involved with them. Susan's breath caught. Involved? What does that mean? Emily fidgeted with her hands. It's complicated, but you're in danger, Susan. More than you realize. The person stalking you isn't some stranger. There's someone you know, someone from your pickleball group. Susan's blood turned to ice. What? Who? Emily started to answer, but a sharp crack split the air, a branch breaking or worse. Emily's eyes widened. They're here, she hissed. We have to go. Susan scanned the park, seeing nothing but feeling the dread. Emily grabbed her arm. Wait, take this. She shoved a folded paper into Susan's hand. If anything happens to me, use it. It'll lead you to the truth. Before Susan could protest, Emily darted into the trees and vanished. Susan stood, dazed, clutching the paper. Someone from pickleball? Her mind flashed to her friends, Clara's warm hugs, Tom's corny jokes, Linda's fierce serves, Greg's quiet nods. It couldn't be one of them, but the stalker knew too much. It had to be someone close. She unfolded the paper. It listed 4 names, all from her pickleball group. Clara, Tom, Linda, Greg. Scribbled below. One of them isn't who they seem. Trust no one. Her stomach dropped. These were her people, her safe haven. Could one of them be a monster? Footsteps crunched behind her, and she whirled around, heart in her throat. It was Frank, his face grim. Susan, we're leaving. Now. What's wrong? I saw someone watching, he said, glancing back. They ran when I got close. I don't like it. Let's get you safe. She nodded, legs shaky as she followed him to the car, slipping the list into her pocket. The stalker was near, too near. And now, with Emily's warning, the nightmare had twisted into something darker. Little did she know, the truth was about to unravel in ways she couldn't fathom. Susan's hands shook as she gripped the folded paper Emily had slipped her. Scrawled across it were the names of her dearest friends, Clara, Tom, Linda, Greg. One of them was her stalker. The realization hit her like a punch to the gut. These were the people she'd shared dinners with, leaned on during tough times, trusted with her secrets. Now, one of them was tormenting her. She wanted to scream, to demand answers, but fear rooted her in place. Doubt gnawed her. Could she even trust her own instincts anymore? Frank drove her back to Margaret's house, the silence between them heavy. His eyes flicked to the rearview mirror, alert for any sign of a tail. We'll get to the bottom of this, Susan, he said as they pulled into the driveway. But you've got to keep it together. Losing your cool won't help us nail this guy. She nodded, though her thoughts churned with dread. Inside, Margaret welcomed them with a strained smile, her usual warmth overshadowed by worry. "I made tea," she offered, pointing toward the kitchen. "Thought it might help." Susan collapsed into a chair, the steaming mug in her hands offering little comfort against the cold dread seeping through her. She glanced at Frank, who was poring over the list of names. "What's our next step?" she murmured, her voice fragile. Frank leaned in, his tone resolute. "We investigate each of them. Look for anything tying them to the stalker's actions. But we've got to be subtle. If they realize we're suspicious, things could get worse." Her throat constricted. "Worse how?" He paused, then answered grimly, more aggressive. "They might target you or someone close to you. We can't risk that." Margaret, who'd been listening quietly, piped up. "What if we bait them? Draw them out?" Frank arched an eyebrow. "Risky, but possible. What's your idea?" A spark of Margaret's usual spunk returned. "Susan's birthday is next week. We could throw a party, invite the whole pickleball crew. If the stalker's one of them, they'll come. We watch, and maybe we catch them slipping up." Susan's pulse quickened. "A party? Now?" Margaret shrugged. "It's the last thing they'd expect. Plus, it puts everyone in one spot for us to observe." Frank nodded thoughtfully. "Could work. We'd set up discreet cameras, maybe plant a few trusted people in the crowd. If the stalker moves, we'll be ready." Susan inhaled deeply. "All right, let's do it." The days that followed blurred together. Margaret, in her element, sent out invites to the pickleball group, claiming it was to cheer Susan up after a rough patch. Susan played her part, posting about the party online, chatting with her friends like nothing was amiss. But every word, every glance felt laced with suspicion. Did Clara's embrace linger too long? Was there an edge to Tom's humor? Did Linda's smile hide something dark? Party night arrived, and Susan's nerves were raw. The house buzzed with music, laughter, and the scent of cake, but an undercurrent of menace lingered. Frank had rigged tiny cameras in the living room and kitchen, and two of his associates blended in as cousins among the guests. Susan plastered on a smile as her friends arrived. Clara handed her a colorful gift, her eyes kind. "You need this, Susan. A night to let go." Tom grinned, swinging an imaginary paddle. "Anyone crashes this party, I'll take 'em out pickleball style." He nearly toppled a lamp, earning laughs. Linda giggled. "Watch it, Tom, or you'll be the party crasher." Greg, ever subdued, offered a quiet nod and a raised glass. Susan studied them, hunting for cracks in their facades. They seemed so normal. Maybe Emily's list was wrong. As the evening unfolded, the familiar chatter began to soothe her. Maybe the party was a safe haven after all. Maybe the stalker wouldn't dare strike here. Then her phone vibrated. Her stomach plummeted. She hadn't heard from the stalker since Emily's warning. With shaky fingers, she checked the screen. A text from an unknown number. "Enjoying yourself, Susan? Don't relax too much. I'm closer than you know." Ice flooded her veins. She scanned the room, everyone laughing oblivious. The stalker was here among them. She locked eyes with Frank and tilted her head toward her phone. He strode over, face taut. "What's up?" She showed him the text, voice trembling. "They're here, Frank." His jaw clenched. "Don't panic. We'll find them." He signaled his team, who began subtly eyeing the crowd for anything off. Susan tried to stay composed, but her mind raced. Who was it? Who wore the mask? Then she spotted Greg by the back door, phone in hand, typing. Her heart sank. Was it him? She edged closer, but he pocketed the device and turned away. Before she could pursue, Margaret tugged her arm. "Susan, cake time. Birthday girl gets a wish." Susan forced a grin, her gaze lingering on Greg. As she blew out the candles, she wished silently. Let this end tonight. Post-cake, she slipped into the hallway, pulse hammering. She had to confront Greg, but she bumped into Tom instead, his face red from wine. "Easy, birthday girl," he slurred, catching his balance. "What's the rush?" She laughed weakly. "Just taking a breather." His grin sharpened, unsettling her. "You're special, Susan. Maybe we could get closer." Revulsion prickled her skin. Was this the stalker's true face? Tom, you're drunk. Go home, she snapped. His smile wavered, a flicker of anger surfacing before he shrugged. Sure. Happy birthday. He lurched off, leaving her rattled. Tom? Greg? Someone else? Her phone buzzed again. Getting warmer, Susan. But you'll never guess. Fury surged. She stormed back to the living room, whispering to Frank. Anything? He shook his head. Not yet. We're on it. The lights flickered, then died. Gasps and nervous chuckles erupted, but Susan's chest tightened. This was no accident. When power returned, Clara was missing. Where's Clara? Susan demanded, voice shrill. Margaret frowned. She was right here. Terror clawed at Susan. She shoved through the crowd, shouting Clara's name, no response. Then she saw it, a note on the back door, scrawled in jagged script. Want Clara back. Old warehouse, Elm Street. Alone. No cops, no Frank. Just you. Her legs nearly gave out. The stalker had Clara, her rock, her confidant. Tears stung as she faced Frank. They took her. I have to go. His expression darkened. It's a setup, Susan. You can't go alone. I have to, she sobbed. I can't lose her. He gripped her arm. Then I'm with you. We'll handle it. But the note's command, alone, rang in her head. Bring Frank, and Clara might pay. She had to decide now. Unbeknownst to her, the truth loomed, ready to shatter everything. Susan's heart pounded as she stared at the note in her trembling hands. Old warehouse, Elm Street. Alone. No cops, no Frank. Just you. The words blurred through her tears. Clara, her dearest friend, was in danger, and it was all her fault. If she'd never joined that social media platform, if she'd never responded to PickleFan92, none of this would have happened. But regrets wouldn't save Clara. She had to act. Frank's voice cut through her panic. Susan, we need a plan. Going alone is too dangerous. She wiped her eyes, resolve hardening. I know, but if I don't, they'll hurt her. I can't risk that. He sighed, running a hand through his graying hair. All right, but I'll be close. We'll rig you with a wire, and I'll follow at a distance. If things go south, I'll step in. Susan nodded, her throat too tight for words. Within minutes, Frank's team fitted her with a tiny microphone and earpiece, hidden beneath her jacket. She drove to the warehouse, her knuckles white on the steering wheel, Frank's car a discreet shadow behind her. The warehouse loomed ahead, a decaying relic from the town's industrial past. Its windows were shattered, the walls tagged with graffiti. Susan parked, her breath shallow as she stepped out into the cold night air. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the distant hum of traffic. She approached the rusted door, her heart hammering. Inside, the darkness swallowed her. She fumbled for her phone's flashlight, casting a weak beam across the cavernous space. Clara, she called, her voice echoing. Are you here? A faint moan answered from the far corner. Susan hurried toward it, her light revealing Clara tied to a chair, her mouth gagged, eyes wide with fear. Relief flooded Susan, but it was short-lived. A figure stepped from the shadows, their face obscured by a hood. Stop right there, Susan, a distorted voice commanded, filtered through a voice changer. She froze, her pulse racing. Who are you? Why are you doing this? The figure chuckled, the sound chilling. You still haven't figured it out? I thought you were smarter than that. Susan's mind raced through the list Emily had given her. Clara, Tom, Linda, Greg. Clara was here, captive. Tom had been drunk at the party, but was it a ruse? Linda's fierce serves masked a competitive streak, but stalking? And Greg, quiet, unassuming Greg. Could it be him? The figure stepped closer, and Susan's breath hitched. Take off the hood, she demanded, her voice steadier than she felt. Show yourself. With a dramatic flourish, the hood fell back, revealing Linda. Susan's jaw dropped. Linda? But why? Linda's smile was cold, her eyes glinting with malice. Surprised? You shouldn't be. You always underestimated me, Susan. Everyone does. Clara whimpered, struggling against her bonds. Susan's shock morphed into fury. Let her go, Linda. This is between us. Linda laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. Oh, it's about more than that. It's about you always being the center of attention. The perfect friend, the perfect player. Even when you're not trying, you steal the spotlight. I was sick of it. Susan's mind reeled. So you stalked me? Terrorized me? Because of jealousy? Linda's face twisted. You don't get it. I wanted to be you, Susan. To have your life, your charm. But since I couldn't, I decided to take it apart, piece by piece. The cruelty in her words struck Susan like a blow. You're insane, she whispered. Linda shrugged. Maybe. But it was fun watching you squirm. And now, you'll watch your precious Clara suffer. She pulled a knife from her pocket, the blade glinting in the dim light. Clara's eyes widened in terror. Susan's heart lurched. No. Please, Linda, don't do this. I'll do anything. Linda's grin widened. Anything? Then beg. Get on your knees and beg. Humiliation burned in Susan's chest, but she dropped to her knees. Please, Linda. Let her go. For a moment, Linda seemed to savor the power. Then she laughed. Pathetic. But it's not enough. She lunged toward Clara, knife raised. Susan screamed, but before Linda could strike, a shout echoed through the warehouse. Freeze. Frank burst in, gun drawn, his team flanking him. Linda spun, panic flashing in her eyes. She dropped the knife and bolted for a side door, but Frank's associates tackled her to the ground. Susan rushed to Clara, untying her with shaking hands. It's okay, you're safe now, she sobbed, pulling her friend into a fierce hug. Clara clung to her, tears streaming. I was so scared, Susan. I know, Susan whispered, but it's over. She can't hurt us anymore. As the police arrived, cuffing Linda and leading her away, Frank approached Susan. You did good, kid. Brave as hell. She managed a weak smile. I had help. Thank you, Frank. He nodded. Just doing my job. But you're the one who kept it together. In the days that followed, the truth unraveled further. Linda had been using multiple accounts to stalk Susan, driven by a toxic mix of envy and obsession. She'd hacked into Susan's social media, tracked her movements, even planted spyware on her phone. The police found evidence linking her to the messages, the photos, the video. Emily, it turned out, was Linda's estranged sister, who discovered Linda's twisted plan and tried to warn Susan anonymously. Susan met Emily at a cafe a week later. The young woman's eyes filled with regret. I should have told you sooner, Emily said, twisting her napkin. But I was scared of what Linda might do. Susan reached across the table, squeezing her hand. You saved us, Emily. If you hadn't reached out, I don't know what would have happened. Emily's smile was tentative, but genuine. I'm just glad it's over. So was Susan. With Linda behind bars, the nightmare finally ended. Susan returned to her life, her home, her pickleball games, but with a newfound caution. She deleted her social media accounts, embraced the offline world, and cherished her friendships even more. One sunny afternoon, as she and Margaret lounged on the porch, sipping lemonade, Margaret nudged her. You know, for a while there, I thought you'd sworn off pickleball forever. Susan chuckled. Never. It's in my blood. But maybe I'll stick to playing with people I trust. Margaret raised her glass. To trust and to never letting creeps win. Susan clinked her glass against Margaret's. And to friends who bake cookies and save the day. They laughed, the sound light and free. Susan glanced at the sky, grateful for the warmth, the peace, the safety. The stalker was gone, but the lessons remained. Cherish your loved ones, guard your heart, and never underestimate the power of a good friend. As she watched the sunset, Susan knew she'd weathered the storm and emerged stronger than ever.